Live from iRacing's virtual Hungaroring, welcome sim racing fans to the finale round of the official Next Level Racing official F3 Championship live on RaceSpotTV. Happy to have all of you with us on this beautiful Friday afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you're tuning in around the world. I'm your host, Joshua Lee. Alongside me, finally again, is George Morgan. And George, we come to one of the most famous tracks on the Formula One circuit. We're going back-to-back in F1. Red Bull Ring last week had a ton of fireworks. Expecting a bit of the same when we go to Hungaroring here tonight.
Oh, definitely, without question. I mean, certainly, I think, like we said off air, Joshua, we are glad that there's no rain yet in iRacing. We certainly saw a bit of a stir in the F1 Championship with Esteban Ocon taking victory at Hungary. Of course, everyone wanted Sebastian Vettel to do it, but never mind. We saw a clinical race, an amazing race, lots of battling. It's a twisting circuit. Monaco without walls is what they call it. I think we're going to be in for a treat.
And we'll see if we can have a similar result there where somebody can unearth Alessandro Di Tullio versus Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen. That happened in the real life this year at Hungaroring because Alessandro Di Tullio is on a roll right now. 2 straight wins and in dominating fashion as well, George. An amazing run for him this season. He tops the point standings by a pretty considerable margin over Raul Hyman, Flavio Dantas, David Holland, and Ralph Benitez down there in the top 5. So a great season for Alessandro Di Tullio and the entire Delta Sport team. They're looking to end great here tonight.
Yeah, certainly are. I mean, I've been very impressed with Alessandro Di Tullio all season long. He's been absolutely formidable. An amazing number of wins. He took the first race win at Watkins Glen, followed up by Snetterton as well. Not to mention then following that up with Donington midway through the season. He actually went through a spate of 0 wins through the next 4 races after Snetterton. He then, of course, came after Donington to Sebring. That was his next victory. Then, of course, the Red Bull Ring. And now we've landed here at Hungaroring. And of course, he's also earned himself a spot at RHG Esports for his merits as well. What a phenomenal talent. They've certainly shown their trust in him as well. He's a quality karting driver too, but we all know Raul Hyman. He'll make his job as hard as possible, that's for sure.
You can see as we currently sit on the timing sheet, familiar name at the top as Alessandro Di Tullio holds it. Raul Hyman now on the racetrack looking to lay down a lap, and it looks like he is not going to be able to get a lap in as this lap looks like he might have had a mistake on it at some point. So it looks like Raul Hyman not going to have that lap time count, so it was a mistake. If any of these drivers get any sort of incident points under their qualifying lap, whether that's an off track, whether that's a hit to the wall, it will serve as an incident point, which if you get any one of those during your qualifying lap, that will disqualify the qualifying lap. So Raul Hyman is going to be starting from the tail end of the grid as everybody who was eligible have now put in their qualifying laps, and it's time to take a look at the starting grid as we get ready to go racing here from the virtual Hungaroring. Familiar name at the front, trying to go 3 in a row. It's Alessandro Di Tullio starting on the pole. Marcus Luzio to his outside. Felipe Dantas, Ralph Benitez, and Connor Wagner going to round out that top 5. With Colin Shin sitting in P6. Paulo Dreiza, William McIntyre going to share that 4th row. Jerome Lamy, Matteo Graziano will round out the top 10 with Flavio Dantas and Rod Clinard going to round out the opening 6 rows. Adrian Falcon and Pepe Marti on row 7. Cody Graham's rounding out the top 15 with Thiago Spencer to his outside. Connor Bell and David Holland going to round out the first 9 rows. Rounding out the top 20 will be Victor Poré and Callum Voisin. Josh McCall, Kenny Newhoff, Jose Coplin, Stephen Hancocks, and Raul Hyman at the tail end of the grid rounds out the 25 drivers who are ready to go racing here from the virtual Hungaroring. George, we talked about the fireworks. We talked about turn number 1 in the real life. Are you expecting a lot of that same going down into turn number 1 here? Do you think these drivers will keep it a little bit more safe than their real life F1 counterparts?
I think they're going to have it in the back of their mind. Certainly turn 1 is very aggressive, very narrow, very tight. Even though for a wide circuit, you look at the straight, you can fit plenty of cars down there. You could fit easily 3-4 cars down that home straight. But at the same time, as soon as you run into that turn 1, that apex makes things very, very tricky, very tight indeed. They've got to be at their best to negotiate around this near 3-mile circuit. And I can certainly imagine Sector 2 is going to be a very poignant point. Certainly that chicane between turn 6 and 7 is going to be quite aggressive. I think we could see a few spins.
We'll see what is going to happen here tonight as these drivers get ready to go racing. Everybody is on the grid. Alessandro Di Tullio at the front of the field, and we go racing from Hungary. And it's a great start for Di Tullio. He's already going to pull out in front. Marcus Luzio is going to try and fall into line P2. Everybody is going to dive into turn number 1. A little bit of 3 wide, a little bit of shuffling around. Here they go into turn number 1. Will we see any spins? It looks like still 3 wide through the mid-pack, but everybody is going to get through cleanly as they'll all race down through turn 2 and into turn 3. Still 3 wide, this time for P4 on the racetrack as the number 12 machine of Connor Wagner trying to go up the inside, and a huge wreck. Multiple drivers involved. Paulo Dreta, Matteo Graziano, and more.
Adrian Falcon, one of them with damage as well. You can see him going slowly, making his way down through towards turn 3, or through turn 3 into turn 4. That was a huge crunching incident, and we did expect fireworks, as you so rightly said, Joshua, heading into turn 1, into turn 2, and it did just get to that point, that's for sure. Alessandro Di Tullio leads, though, in similar fashion to what we've seen all season. But how about this from Marcus Luzio, instantly looking down his near side, almost trying to go side by side with the man from RAG Esports. But it's great to see Marcus Luzio here today at Hungaroring, second place right now, hunting down the current championship leader and champion of this F3 championship.
It was clean through the opening corner, then they went through turn 2, and that is when all things broke loose. But at the front, still clean for the top 20 drivers in this field, and Di Tullio having a bit of pressure from the one of Marcus Luzio behind him. Back to the front straight away. You can see the signs for DRS on the side. No DRS in these Dallara F3 machines. We go on to lap number 2, and you can see Alessandro Di Tullio on the defense. Pepe Marti gonna go spinning in the background off of the final corner, turn 14. A move to the outside for Marcus Luzio. He's gonna get pushed off and over onto the runoff area, but now he's gonna have the inside over Alessandro Di Tullio. It's side by side for the race lead as Luzio goes forward in 2, and he is gonna take the lead away for the first time in 2 weeks. Di Tullio is out of the top spot.
Yeah, now this is going to be a huge test now for Alessandro Di Tullio. He's got to try and stay in the slipstream of Marcus Luzio. Heading into the next left now at turn 4. Still Luzio holds on there in the Apex Racing livery. You can see him behind as well. Ralph Benitez coming into the fight as well. It's been such a clinical start to this race. Huge drama. We've had incidents, overtakes, but my mouth is watering at the prospect of Luzio and Di Tullio fighting out at this circuit, sitting here at Hungaroring, where it's so tight, but these incredible 250 brake horsepower F3 cars can really stick to this track. It is wonderful to see. There you can see the rear wing of Marcus Luzio heading down now into sector 3 proper very soon. You can see Alessandro Di Tullio just hunting as they make their way down towards the next right-hander, but not finding enough to make his way through. But I get the feeling that there's going to be a spate of danger heading down the home stretch. Still Luzio leads 0.3 of a second gap now to Alessandro Di Tullio as they come around the final corner at turn 14. They need to hug the apex, feather the throttle now. Certainly Luzio, he's going to have to prove his mettle here. It's going to be a test of mettle heading down through towards turn 1. But Alessandro Di Tullio, he's going to put pedal to the metal here as he hunts on the rear of that rear wing of Marcus Luzio into turn 1. Will he try and switch back? Not this time. Still Luzio managing to defend heroically well, but he's got a lot to do still. We're only in lap 3 of 18.
Di Tullio still trying everything he possibly can to get around. Don't count out Ralph Benitez. Don't count out Felipe Dantas. Don't count out William McIntyre. The entire top 5 is now within about 1.2 seconds of each other. You can see one big line here at the front of this field, all the way down to roughly about the top 10 is all separated by about 3 seconds. Everybody staying close together as they work their way through sector 2 here at the Hungaroring. Replay. This looks to be the opening lap incident. 3 wide, a small tap, and around goes the car in the middle. Getting caught up, Adrian Falcon. Cody Graham's caught up in that. Matteo Graziano, Paulo Dreta, Victor Perret. All drivers caught up in that opening lap incident, but since then, it has been fairly clean, especially up here at the front. And the battle for the lead still continuing as Luzio, the #1 machine in this race, which means that he has the highest iRating out of anybody, currently leads the way.
Yeah, and looking very strong as well. I mean, I just want to say we've lost some really, really significant names in that incident. Certainly one of them being Paolo Dreiter, Adrian Falcon being the other one. It's certainly incredible, never to say the least. There's another incident there with Poirot there. Do you see, that's how tight it is here at Hungaroring. Those barriers are never too far away, and certainly leaves you in a little bit of trouble in certain circumstances. Now, once again, we see Di Tullio hunting on the rear of Marcus Luzio, but it's not enough to find his way through into turn 1, but still they continue. Heading down now towards turn 2, still Luzio leads.
Side by side is down the inside goes Connor Wagner. This is the battle for P6 on the racetrack, just getting by Colin Shin in the number 8. Two very familiar names here in the Next Level Racing official F3 championship. And it looks like an issue. Thiago Spencer has just pulled off of the racetrack. It looks like he got into contact with the driver behind him. We'll see if we can grab that replay. I believe it was contact with the 4 machine of Raul Hyman. And here it is, going through turn 2, some slight contact sends Thiago Spencer loose, wondering why he pulled off to the side to retire the car. A very interesting move there, George. Didn't look like any major damage to that machine.
No, it didn't look like it at all. I mean, I'm not sure whether it's just a hint of frustration, obviously not happy with the way the race was going, but we know Thiago Spencer, he's a relentless character. He's also one of them that was up in the fight from the start of the season. We saw many great battles, including him, Adrian Falcon, as well as Paolo Dreiter as well. It has been absolutely astonishing to see how he's performed in this series, as a lot of them have done. We've seen so many heroic drives from many of these guys, and certainly Alessandro Di Tullio being one of them. But yet, we've seen now Marcus Luzio come to this grid order, donning and racing against the best of them here, and he leads this race, nurturing a 0.3 of a second gap ahead of Alessandro Di Tullio, Ralph Benitez in 3rd place, and Flavio Dantas, or Felipe Dantas, should I say, not Flavio, in 4th place as well, with McIntyre in 5th. Incredible. But watch out for Connor Wagner as well. He is known to get into a scrap.
He's trying to work his way back up through the field as he sits currently in P6. He started in P5. Talk about William McIntyre, another one of those drivers up here towards the front, starting in P5. He started P8 on the racetrack here tonight. It looked like an issue for Thiago Spencer with the steering after that contact, so that led to him retiring the car back into the pit lane. We'll see if he comes back on the racetrack. He'll be off with a lead lap, but he can at least still finish on the racing surface. On board now, looking back from your 6th place driver of Connor Wagner to the 8 machine of Colin Shin. Wagner and Shin, two drivers who always try their hand at official F3 racing here on the iRacing service. We see them pretty much every week here on the broadcast on RaceSpotTV. Great runs from both of them as they sit 6th and 7th, but both of them did lose a spot to William McIntyre at one point in the opening 5 laps, as they both sit 1 position down from where they began. Now you're on board, taking a look at exactly what Flavio Dantas is seeing right now in his sim rig, as he has gained 3 spots from where he started back in P11. As he sits 8th place currently, about 0.2 back from the driver in front of him of Colin Shin. He's gonna go for a move on Shin. It looks like he's feeling brave down into turn number 1. Gonna get a little close. Is Dantas gonna be able to get the power down? And it doesn't look like he's gonna be able to. He's gonna have to stay behind Colin Shin for the moment.
He certainly will do. Colin Shin holding on to that outside line and feathering it slightly, just doing enough to keep Flavio Dantas at bay. But as you can see from the onboard that we just witnessed, certainly Flavio Dantas still very much in this fight. They're making their way up towards turn 4 again this time. You can see him now hightailing through this next left-hander, nose to tail. The gap's still thinner than a fly's eyelash right now as we're watching them head around the next right. They've got another chicane to take too. And there you can see car number 8, Colin Shin, still holding on to his position as they creep through this very tight section. In behind now, you can see now that Dantas getting so close. Once again, he is glued to that rear end of Colin Shin's car. Currently the gap existing at a very minimal 0.2 of a second. Nothing separates them as they make their way around the next right-hander now. They've got another right-hander to take, and there you can see them still literally touching as they ran through the next right. Just look at it, pushing him almost around this circuit as to now just go off track slightly as they come through the next left now at turn 13. They're going to be now making their moves up towards 14th corner now, the final corner here in lap 6 of 18. And as they do so, still right on the rear, currently that man, Flavio Dantas. He's going to certainly try and go close again this time. Can he do enough, though, in retrospect to what he did in the previous lap? I'm sure he'll be looking for better heading in towards turn 1. Will he leave it a late break, or is he going to stay in behind Kalen Jim? We'll soon see. No, opting to stay behind. No move this time. He's going to be a little bit more patient, Joshua.
Patience seems to be the name of the game, especially with a track like the Hungaroring and especially with the lap count that we have. Average lap time's about 1 minute 35. We're not even halfway done with this race. We'll be halfway in about 2 laps time. 18 laps we're running. A little bit shorter than the normal 20 we're used to seeing here in the official F3 Championship, but 18 laps at a minute 35 pace is definitely still a lot of time for these drivers to develop the race. We're not going to see any pit stops, so they need to make everything happen on the racetrack, and we're still seeing, George, a tight battle at the front of the field with Luzio out in front, DeTulio behind. Ralph Benitez and Felipe Dantas have not let that lead battle get too far in front of the field. So we're seeing a solid 4-car battle now, separated by about a second and change. Every single one of these drivers with an opportunity at winning this race. But it looks like right now, nobody too eager to make any aggressive moves down the inside through turn 1. Everybody's staying clean and just riding around now and following the car in front of them.
Yeah, absolutely. It's pretty much a train right now, a slipstream train. Alessandro Di Tullio struggling slightly to break it. You can see there that Marcus Luzio is doing everything he can to keep Di Tullio behind him here as they head down towards turn 1 yet again. Can Di Tullio open the door? Will he come knocking as he takes the wider line, heading inside? You can see there the dash to the inside from Luzio as he looks to hold on to the lead, and that was masterfully done, certainly, to try and hold off Di Tullio, but it might not be enough heading in towards turn 2 as they come into the next left now. Still currently leading Marcus Luzio. They can see Di Tullio feathering the throttle around the outside, looking for every access possible, but can't fend off the amazing defensive of Marcus Luzio. But he might try it around turn 4 now. Certainly now, as they wind through it. Luzio doing enough on the inside line. Again, the switch back from Di Tullio, who goes hunting again around the outside, heading around turn 5 as they whittle through sector 2 proper. Another chicane that beckons now at turn 6 and 7. Still Luzio holding back his foe, Di Tullio. What an exquisite exchange between these pair of quality drivers. Incredible.
Quality defense from Marcus Luzio at the front right now. He is not giving Alessandro Di Tullio an inch of space, and he was able to defend through sector 1 and most of the way through sector 2 at that. And as they go through sector 3, Di Tullio forced to fall back a little bit. Now the next big slipstream opportunity they're going to have is down this front straightaway. How is this going to work? Di Tullio is going to have another opportunity to make a move going through the opening couple of corners here at the Hungaroring. Off the final corner, turn 14. He won't have the DRS as the sign on the offside of the track suggests. He'll have to do it all with the slipstream. He's going to try and get close. It's not going to be close enough as they dive into 1. Not even going to be close enough to get side by side. Di Tullio going to have to follow behind for one more lap, as next time by they'll put half of the race behind them and look forward to the final 9 laps. But while they're battling, George, take a look back. The entire top 10 is now back to being separated by about 4.5 seconds. Everybody from about first on down to 8th, separated by 3 seconds. So this battle at the front has caused the drivers behind to catch back up, causing one big slipstream line, shades of what you'd see at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway around the month of May.
Yeah, no, this is brilliant, and certainly it's because of this aggressive defensive from Marcus Luzio, this high-quality bit of defending that he's managed to pull off in order to hold back, as we just see Di Tullio getting very squarely coming out of that chicane at turn 6 and 7, and that will cost him a little bit of time. He's gone out now by 0.2 of a second. It's sprung out to 0.5 now, so he's going to have to work a little bit harder to close down that gap now as they make their way down through now towards this next right-hander, and as they do so heading in towards turn 12, you can still see Luzio leading. The gap now springing out to near enough 6/10. DiTullio's got a lot to do. In behind Ralph Benitez, still very threatening. He's brought the gap into around about 8 to 9/10 of a second as they come now down towards turn 14. Once again, here in lap 9 of 18, the halfway point here in this race. We're about to surpass it and head into lap 10. Still Luzio leads. Once again, moving onto that paddock side to try and avoid the slipstream there for DiTullio as they head down through now towards turn 1. The gap still remaining relatively healthy. Half a second the deficit between Luzio and DiTullio. Benitez in behind as well with Dantis, Wagner, McIntyre and Kalen Chin, who is still up in the fight. Incredible to see these gaps so close. You can see them, look, nose to tail coming through the next left now. Amazing. And certainly that does bring about edge of your seat stuff, folks. This is far from over.
We're only halfway done. We still have an entire half of this race to go as the battle at the front still continues, still close by about 4/10 now as they work their way through turn 5 into the chicane of 6 and 7. And Luzio last time by setting a lap time that was a considerable amount faster than Alessandro DiTullio, about 1/10.5 faster, which when they're running about 4/10 separating the two of them, 1/10.5 is a substantial amount because that basically moved the gap in the favor of Marcus Luzio by about 1/3 of what the gap was on the previous lap. So Luzio is setting faster laps than DiTullio right now. Ralph Benitez, who sits in 3rd, watching the battle in front of him, still developing. Benitez has an opportunity to try and close this door, but I think now as they come through turn 14, DiTullio is going to have another opportunity through turn 1 of trying to get that lead away. Take a look at the lock on the steering wheel. He's going to destroy that DRS sign if it was collidable. And Ralph Benitez with a very, very sketchy moment off the final corner, turn 14. Could we see more drivers starting to get loose in their F3 machines, George? Usually at this point, we see lap times pick up, and we are seeing some lap times pick up a little bit faster. But Ralph Benitez with a very scary moment off there at turn 14. We'll see if anybody else in the field has moments like that.
Yeah, it was certainly, I mean, he did well to actually stay on the track, let alone hold on to P3. We're just seeing as well in the rear, Conor Wagner battling it out, certainly with Felipe Dantis as they come into a turn 4 now. There you can see Wagner, who did manage to go side by side into turn 4 with none other than Felipe Dantis. As they come through the next right-hander now, they've got the next chicane to come. The gap now has sprung out to a healthy 3/10, well, 2.5 to 3/10 of a second as they come through the next right and left, but still doing well right now is Felipe Dantis, managing that P4 spot. Did well to defend against the relentless Conor Wagner, but certainly with so much left in this race, we've got 7 laps remaining in this extraordinary exchange. Still leading the way, Marcus Luzio. Alessandro DiTullio has not left his rear. I want to hear from the live chat, folks. Who do you think's winning this race? Is it Marcus Luzio? Is it Alessandro DiTullio? Or is it someone else? Let us know in the comments.
I think it's a bit of a toss-up, honestly, between Luzio and DiTullio, because even though Luzio has been in command of this race ever since he was able to get by Alessandro DiTullio, you gotta think, George, that DiTullio, with how close he has been to passing the one of Luzio on a lot of laps in this race, DiTullio can just get a little bit more aggressive and make that pass. I don't think Luzio is too much faster than Alessandro DiTullio, but as I say that, another lap goes in favor of the one machine last time by, and currently 1:35.069, the fastest lap of the race, is set by Marcus Luzio, who continues to lead the way. So we'll see who will end up winning this race. It's Luzio and DiTullio at the front, Benitez, Dantis, and Wagner the top 5, McIntyre, Chin, Dantis, Lamy, and Clinard are going to round out the top 10 as we continue to race from the virtual Hungaroring. It looks like we have 5 retirements so far in this race. Thiago Spencer, Stephen Hancock, Paulo Dreta, Matteo Graziano, and Adrian Falcon are all retired. Victor Perret, Cody Grahams, David Holland have been into the pit lane to fix damage, but they are back onto the racetrack. Battle for 6 between McIntyre, Chin, Dantis, and Lamy is going to develop a little bit more as we specifically take a look at Flavio Dantis trying to get around Kalen Chin, who sits in front of him with a little bit of pressure from Jerome Lamy also in this battle, but really 7th and 8th tight together going through the final couple of corners.
Yeah, absolutely incredible to watch. Flavio Dantas still plugging or trying to plug the gap, certainly to the car ahead with Kalen Chin in 7th spot. These two have been dueling it out now for quite some time. Still Luzio leads though, and comment there from Colin Barnes in the chat. He's going for Di Tullio. Please hammer your chat in as well, folks. We want to hear from you. Who do you think's winning this race? Luzio still leads with a current 0.4 of a second gap over Alessandro Di Tullio as they come into turn 1 now. Benitez in 3rd with Dantas in 4th. Wagner in 5th. There's Di Tullio now as we ride on board the T-cam of the car as they come through the next left, and certainly there you could see Luzio certainly in front of him here as they crawl through now turn 3, heading up now towards the turn 4 corner. That high-speed left-hander, which can take near enough flat out, just lift off slightly, maybe feather the brakes, certainly does so, heads round now turn 5, and there you can see Luzio just once again just getting close to the edge there on that track. You do not want to hit that curb. It will make you spin because it is almost like a sausage curb, very high up, and can easily take out one of these single-seater high downforce cars. They now come through the next left, through the next right. Di Tullio looking ever so venomous. They've already brought the gap out incredibly by a massive second in between Di Tullio and Benitez. So these two now, they're going for it. They're breaking clear of the pack. Huge opportunity now for Di Tullio, potentially down the home straight.
On board now with Marcus Luzio. It'll be 5 to go this time by. 5 laps for Alessandro Di Tullio to prove himself and grab yet another win in the official F3 championship. Down the front straightaway they go. Really the test now is, can Di Tullio complete the pass once he's there? Because he hasn't been able to do that. Once Luzio got to the lead, Alessandro Di Tullio has been close, George. He's been within millimeters of taking that lead away, but he just hasn't been able to do it. He hasn't been able to get by Marcus Luzio for a substantial amount of time. He's been side by side, hasn't been able to fully complete the pass. He's going to need to do that if he wants this race win, and right now, that gap is staying pretty stationary at 3/10.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to say, you've got to look at Luzio's pace. I mean, obviously, that is a contributing factor, but I'd say the major part is the fact that he's used the circuit to his advantage. His defense has been so superior against the attack of Di Tullio. Di Tullio is trying to build the momentum. He needs the momentum, but it's always Luzio breaking that momentum at the major points where it matters the most. And certainly Di Tullio isn't able to execute heading down these long straights, because you see Luzio weaving, trying to break the slipstream, moving over to the paddock side, trying to avoid any opportunity for Di Tullio to gain any straight line speed. And he's used that against RAG's best, or RAG's finest, Alessandro Di Tullio, as they come now down through towards the next right-hander, still leading the Apex Racing livery of Marcus Luzio, and he's doing it very well indeed. Coming around the next left now, and they're going to make the move now round the final corner of turn 14, certainly before they then take the home straight to commence lap 15 of 18, and Di Tullio still a ways behind as they now make their way through. We know you can see him behind as well. The battling continues between Kalen Chin and Dantas. They make their way down the home stretch. Certainly now this time, Flavio Dantas has been, well, perhaps might look to make a move himself as they make their way down towards turn 1. He's certainly getting closer and closer, utilising the slipstream. Will he go for a dive heading in towards turn 1? He certainly will. Does send one down the inside, and that'll certainly give Kalen Chin something to think about. Wheel to wheel now, heading down towards turn 2. Still Chin leading that charge in 7th spot. In behind there you can see Dantas hugging the outside line, still can't find a way through, and that is the tipping point. That is the difference maker. We've seen Luzio make defenses like that right through this race. If you can't get your nose in front out of turn 1, then it's going to be extra difficult for you to make the move around turn 2.
Oh, and you can see still getting a little bit loose is Flavio Dantas as he tries to get around Kalen Chin, who sits in front of him. It'll be 3 laps to go this time by. Gap growing for the race lead. Gap closing in between these two. You can see Chin on the defense through that chicane. And Flavio Dantas looking for any possible way he can around. Look at him mounting the curb on the inside, trying to find any possible room around Kalen Chin that he possibly can. Through the last couple of corners, they'll go into the final complex here through sector 3, and it doesn't look like the 5 of Dantas is going to really have anything to say to Chin yet. as they'll take 3 to go this time by George. Battle for the lead has now gone way in the hands of Marcus Luzio. DiTullio now is really outside of the window of opportunity to make it happen. He needs to gain time back now on Luzio. He can't just use the slipstream to his advantage on a straightaway and get side by side. He needs to make time up to have an opportunity to pass with only 3 laps to do it.
Yeah, he needs to use his instincts in karting. Certainly, he's so good at it. Certainly, we've seen his performances as well in previous F3 championship races. I mean, at the end of the day, if you look at him, he's a 5-time race winner this season, as we have obviously broadcast here. A race spot, oh, dearie me! And that, to me, looks like Dantas, Flavio Dantas, who was fighting it out with Kalen Chin. My guess is they were going side by side, and we saw Dantas getting squirrely earlier on in the previous few laps, hitting the curbs quite aggressively, heading into the next left, and I get the feeling, oh dearie me. Well, I'm not going to comment, but they headed around that left-hander, and it was always going to happen at that point, I think, but incredibly close between the two, Joshua.
Just getting just a little bit too close for liking there, and that sent around the number 6 machine, or the number 5 machine, excuse me, of Flavio Dantas. So unfortunate to see that battle was developing really well, and we could see a very exciting one coming up, but unfortunately did not go that way to the checkered flag. Continuing at the front, DiTullio might be getting close enough to make a move on Marcus Luzio. This is going to be a very close one because DiTullio, I think if he gets aggressive, George, and really goes for it, he might have an opportunity, but take a look. The same defense is coming out from Marcus Luzio at the front as he tries to continue to pull away from Alessandro DiTullio. To an extent, it is working. But also, you gotta think, as DiTullio drifts it through turn number 1, there's where the issue is for Alessandro DiTullio. That car looking a little bit upset now as we just saw him work his way through turn number 1. Now he's gonna lose substantial time, down to 6/10. The win is going farther and farther away from Alessandro DiTullio in the 3.
Yeah, he really needs to push now. Sector 2 and Sector 3 has never been more important. We take a look at the slow motion replay. You can just see him losing the rear end of the car. Did very well to utilize the steering to get it back square. He immediately had to pull the car across, but you can see him again getting so aggressive. I get the feeling, a sense of frustration here, Joshua. I think he is getting a bit hot here, and again, he aggressively comes into that chicane. He is literally pushing for all he's worth. He does not want to get out of this half a second, or certainly half a second window of Luzio, because certainly he's only going to have one chance left, and that is certainly lap 18, which is the next lap, heading down that long straight. He needs to get close, and I get the feeling frustration is starting to creep into his race, which is a very dangerous thing to happen.
It'll be white flag next time by, and one final lap remaining of the 2021 Season 4 campaign of the Next Level Racing official F3 Championship. They work their way across the line. There's the white flag displayed by Barney the Flagman. One final lap, one final opportunity for DiTullio to make something happen. Down into turn number 1, George. It's not close enough, and he's going to need basically a miracle now if he wants to walk away with a 3rd win in a row.
He certainly is. That home straight is where we see the overtakes happen 99.9% of the time, but do not write off DiTullio. They come through the next left now into turn 3, heading around this next right. Don't take anything away from the performance of Marcus Luzio. It's been an absolutely incredible defensive battle, certainly defensive effort from Luzio to hold on to that P1, and now he's pulling out the lead. He's going for it here in the final lap, making sure this win happens. He is now out to over 7/10 of a second. He is absolutely flying, heading through the next chicane now at turn 6 and 7. There you can see DiTullio, ever the frustration kicking in for the man from RAG Sports. It's a tenacious season, but I get the feeling Hungaroring has got the better of him today, but still a very vibrant P2 on the table, Joshua.
5 wins for Alessandro DiTullio in the 2021 Season 4 campaign. He's not going to be able to make it 6 through the final 2 corners down into turn 13. And for the first time this season, he becomes the 4th driver to win a single race this season. He becomes the 6th driver overall to win in this campaign. Marcus Luzio is victorious at the Hungaroring, and the celebration for the #1 machine, highest rated driver, is top of the podium at the newest circuit on the iRacing service.
Yeah, incredible performance from Marcus Luzio. 100% deserves it. I mean, we look at defending, and we saw it certainly with Fernando Alonso and the likes of Lewis Hamilton as well, when he tried to defend for his life to stop Hamilton from closing down on Esteban Ocon. We saw a similar defensive display, only this time the man himself was protecting his lead, and he did just that, protected himself against Alessandro Di Tullio. Don't take anything away from Di Tullio. Today he finished in P3, but overall in the F3 Championship, he is the champion. And what an incredible champion as well. 5 race wins out of 12 races. Now that is an impressive stat.
What a season it was. What a run for Alessandro Di Tullio. Could not have ran a much better season. 5 total wins for Di Tullio. He's gonna celebrate, burn it down with his teammate. That's the number 12 of Connor Wagner, who he's burning it down with. And what a fantastic season for Di Tullio. 5 wins, Watkins Glen, Snetterton, Donington, Sebring, and the Red Bull Ring. Absolute dominant fashion at the beginning of the season, going 2 in a row. A win at Donington in the middle, and then another 2 in a row at Sebring and the Red Bull Ring. Take a bow, Alessandro Di Tullio. What a way to finish off the 2021 Season 4 campaign of the Next Level Racing official F3 Championship. Marcus Luzio grabs the win from Virtual Hungary. It's Alessandro Di Tullio in 2nd. Ralph Benitez, Felipe Dantas, and Connor Wagner the top 5. William McIntyre, Colin Chin, Jerome Lamy, Rod Clinard, and Raul Hyman gonna round out the top 10. Connor Bell, Josh McCall, Flavio Dantas, Kenny Newhoff, Jose Copland the top 15, with Pepe Marti, David Holland, Cody Grahams, Callum Voisin, and Victor Porre rounding out the top 20. Rounding out the field, unfortunately, all in the pit lane was Thiago Spencer, Stephen Ancox, Adrian Falcon, Matteo Graciano, and Paulo Dreta. What a season this was, George. We had 6 unique winners. Alessandro Di Tullio with 5 wins. We listed where he finished in 1st. Raul Hyman with 3, 1 win at Suzuka, Laguna Seca, and Spa. And then David Holland with a win at Mosport. Ralph Benitez with a win at Zandvoort. Flavio Dantas with a win at the Hockenheim Ring. And then Marcus Luzio winning at the Hungaroring. So 6 different winners this season. What dominating fashion for Alessandro Di Tullio. But what a season we saw. Great racing at a majority of the tracks that we saw, and just goes to show how exciting these F3 cars are and how talented these drivers are.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the magic of the F3 Championship, certainly. None of them are distinguishable in terms of performance in between the cars, so it relies ultimately on the driver's performance and how the driver performs across a season as well. Certainly, we've seen some amazing battles, some amazing drives, right from Watkins Glen in race 1 all the way to this point at race 12 here at the Hungaroring. I've got to say, Di Tullio has been astonishing. Certainly, I wouldn't be surprised if RHG signed him off the back of his F3 performance. Certainly, I would imagine they would have taken a close look at this, certainly as amongst his various other racing exploits, but he has been sensational. It was a shame not to see Raul Hyman up at the top end as well. I really would have loved to see Raul Hyman battling with Di Tullio again for the final race of the championship, but credit to Hyman, he came home nevertheless out on track. But how about that from Marcus? He was sensational, wasn't he?
Just an amazing run for Marcus Luzio. After getting around Alessandro Di Tullio, never looked back, kept that lead, and in dominating fashion takes home the win. Remember, next week, week 13 here on the iRacing service. So if you're at a Class D road license level, get above 3.0 safety rating, get that Class C license for 2022 Season 1. Go racing in the official F3 Championship here on iRacing. Keep working up those iron and get into the top split. Race with some of the best iRacers in the business here in the official official F3 championship. That'll do it for our broadcast here on RaceSpotTV. We thank you all for joining us for 12 weeks of action for the Next Level Racing official F3 championship. Congratulations to Marcus Luzio winning today, to Ralph Benitez, to David Holland, Flavio Dantas, Raul Hyman, and especially Alessandro Di Tullio, all of your winners, and Alessandro Di Tullio, your champion of the Next Level Racing official F3 championship for the 2021 season 4 campaign. We thank you for tuning in to all 12 weeks of action, and we hope to see you for more action that we have right here on RaceSpotTV.